Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and it's my pleasure to be here with you today in this great forum to talk about the era of skills. Today, technology is changing everything around us. It is becoming an essential part of our life. It's not luxury anymore. It is becoming a necessity. It is disturbing all sectors, such as power, finance, health, transportation, and others, allowing new business models that were not viable before. It is disturbing as well workforce need and future skills needs. If we go through the Industrial Revolution, the first Industrial Revolution began in the 18th century through the use of steam power as well as mechanization. It has created jobs around this ecosystem, and it has destroyed some routine jobs that were existing before and not needed anymore. While the second Industrial Revolution, which began in the 19th century through the invention of electricity and assembly line, has created jobs around this ecosystem, such as electrical engineers and project managers and others, and has destroyed some jobs in the steam industry. While the third Industrial Revolution, which began in the 17th, in the 20th century, through automation and use of computers, has created jobs around this ecosystem, such as programmers and use of computers. We are currently in the fourth Industrial Revolution with all its promises. And this Industrial Revolution is characterized by the use of advancement technology, which allow new business models and the use of data. And this Industrial Revolutions, like other, is expected also to create a new job around emerging technologies and the use of emerging technologies, and kill some of the routine jobs that will be automated and not needed anymore. So, in each revolution, we can see an emerging skills that arise and skills that get destroyed, which impact the type of jobs related to these skills. Knowledge and skills are becoming the primary source of economic productivity. When we talk about knowledge, it's more of a theoretical understanding of something, which a person can acquire through lectures, textbooks, reading, listening, as well as watching to obtain the information, where it's becoming more easier with the advancement of technology and the availability of needed tool. After that, a person can go to a next stage where he can practice and acquire needed skills. Skills can be acquired by practice, and the best way to master something usually is through regular practice, or what we call trial and error, until you practice this thing. Skill-based learning is emerging, and it's aimed to build upon the knowledge by developing the practical experience in particular area. Today, with the intensive global economic competitiveness, as well as technological advancement, this has driven a shift from what we call routine jobs to jobs that require thinking and non-routine skills, which emphasize a new range of skills, such as analytical thinking, design thinking, critical thinking, problem solving, active learning, technology design and use, as well as innovation and creativity. So, skills today becoming the currency of labor market. 50% of employees around the world will definitely need reskilling by 2025, as the advancement and adoption of technology will be increasing, and technology will be almost evolving everywhere. And this is as per the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs report. So there is an urgent need for upskilling and reskilling to match the 21st century needs. Today, we are living in the era of the fourth industrial revolution, with all the promises that this revolution is promising us, where the rules of the game has changed a lot. Today, it's the entrepreneurs as well as innovators who are writing these new rules with their innovative ideas as well as disruptive business models, and using the data as fuel for their innovation, which bring new business model to life that change the world around them to a better place. Advancement in technology, as well as innovation and disruptive business model, are definitely impacting jobs globally. It is creating new pressure on the labor market, as well as individuals and companies who are facing challenges where it creates new roles that require new skills, and it destroys some of the existing role or old skills. According to the World Economic Forum, at least 54% of all employees will need reskilling and upskilling in the next few years. Why? To avoid the risk of job displacement due to this advancement in technology adoption. Workers who are not able to cope with this change and upskill and reskill themselves will be at risk of being marginalized. In order to equip an individual to successfully be part of this change and future needs and match the 21st century needs and enable businesses to find the skills that are required to be competitive, we have to focus on developing programs of reskilling, upskilling at organization as well as at the national level. Education reform is needed. Lifelong learning programs are needed, as well as specialized reskilling, upskilling initiative. And this will be a key to ensure both individuals they have access to economical opportunity and remain competitive in the future for the future jobs. And also to ensure that businesses have access to the needed talent that they need for the job that their business is evolving on. Now I would like to take you through some of the initiatives that we are applying at the Kingdom. As you are aware, Saudi Arabia today is undertaking one of the most ambitious as well as largest ever economical transformation and social development. This is called Vision 2030, which is happening now. ICT is considered as key enabler for Vision 2030 and foundational to the transformation of our society, diversification, as well as economy. Digital transformation is a critical component towards this transformational journey and to create a vibrant society, a thriving economy, as well as ambitious nation. The three key ambitions of our Vision 2030. We have launched a National Transformation Program 2020, which include 7 main dimensions. One of them was digital transformation. And as part of this digital transformation, we have launched several key initiatives to build digital skills within our citizens, as well as to increase digital awareness. Also, we have launched recently a human capability development program, which aims to ensure that our citizens have the required capabilities to compete globally by instilling values and developing basic as well as future skills, such as digital skills and other skills that the market is needed, as well as to enhance the knowledge in all sectors that the transformational journey will definitely require and will keep the kingdom competitiveness by transforming to a skills-based economy and developing a digital economy. When it comes to digital talent, we have introduced digital skills for K-12, and almost 100 technology track are being introduced in our universities. In addition, and through Future Skills Initiative, we have trained more than 55,000 men and women on advanced technologies such as AI, cybersecurity, Python development, cloud computing, and others over the past few years. Also, we have reskilled and upskilled more than 25,000 employees. We have extended also the digital impact through Think Tech and Ata initiative. Ata means given in Arabic, and through both initiatives, we have trained more than 575,000 people, and we have reached million with the educational material that we have published and created through both initiatives, which target not only Saudi citizens, but all Arabic speaking around the globe. This has resulted, alhamdulillah, in our country being today 9th when it comes to digital skills globally, and 1st when it comes to digital rising among the G20 countries. To conclude, the Industrial Revolution is not something new. It's something that the world has faced previously, and as we've seen, with each revolution, productivity has been increased, and there are great opportunities which require new skills as well as a new job. So countries who are working fast in equipping their citizens with the right needed skills will be the ones that will seize the momentum and take advantages of these industrial revolutions. Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure being among you. Thank you.